Hi everyone. As you most probably have already seen, the Prusa Core 6.4.0 alpha version has been released, and it has some exciting new features, and one of the most exciting one is the manual belt tuning wizard, I'd say. The last video wasn't that good because of the audio, so I decided to give it another go, and well, let's have a closer look how to get your printer a bit more silent, shall we? Of course, the first thing we need to do is to turn the printer on, and then we head to control and we disable the motors. That's important because otherwise we overload the motors by moving the gantry. First thing we do is we move the gantry to the front until it's flush to the front, and then we move it forward and backward and let it bump into the front. Now it's very important that you hear the bumping on both sides at the same time, so on the left side and on the right side. If you only hear a bump, for example, on the left side, it means that the left side actually is tensioned too much. So what you can do is you can use the screwdriver and decrease the tension on the left and increase the tension on the right. And if it hits on the right first, of course, you need to decrease the tension on the right and increase the tension on the left. Now, when you do the belt tuning for the first time, it's important that you completely loosen the belt. So you completely decrease the tension on both sides until you move the gantry to the back and make sure the extruder is on the center. And once it's completely loose, you try to tension it until you can pick it up like a small guitar. And then you make sure that the gantry, when you push it to the front, is equal on both sides. Okay. So we're good for that. So what we're trying to do now is we go to settings, and then we head for the manual belt tuning. So it says, okay, you shall have a look at the QR code, and you also need an Allen key. So what I did, instead of using the Allen key, is I'm using a hex screwdriver, and I just marked it on one side so I can see how much I have to turn to have it equally. Because if you tension the belts on both sides, you have to tension them exactly the same time. So one turn here, one turn there. That's really important. Otherwise, you have a screw in the gantry, and then it will not be flush on both sides, so it will hit the front first on the left or front first on the right, and that's nothing that we want to have. So we're good to go. Now it says check the x-axis gantry squareness. That's what we just did. We just make sure that the screw is correctly, and now it says the printer is homing. Please wait. And it says measuring actual belt frequency. Okay, that's what we want to do. And for that, you have to tune the frequency. So if you tune the frequency, you see that the belts should normally move forward and backward very fast. You can't see that with the camera over here because of the frequency, but now it's moving forward and backward, and the lower one is perfectly fine, and we have a frequency of 96 Hertz, which means that's perfect for the upper belt. And now we continue, and now we are having the same for the lower belt actual frequency, which is 92 Hertz. And we move it forward and backward and see it starts to ripple at 92 Hertz, and that's the perfect frequency for the lower belt as well. So then it shows the actual values. We press continue, and so he says, okay, we don't need to turn the tensioner screws, that's also fine. And we're good to go. Calibration is complete. Okay, the next thing which we are going to do is we're going to do the input shaper. So for that, we remove the cap on the back. You need to have an accelerometer, and we connect the accelerometer to the back. We connect the connector to the back. And then it's very important, do not already connect the accelerometer to the extruder. Move it at the back, as you can see over here, and that's fine, because the first thing which is going to happen is it's going to start homing. So we go to settings, and then we select input shaper and calibration. Yes, it is connected, and now you see it's doing some homing, and that's why we don't want to have the accelerometer connected. So now it's in the middle. We remove a sock if you have a sock attached, and then we connect the accelerometer. Then we press continue, and it's now calibrating the accelerometer. For this video I have left the door open, but of course if you do it on your own, please make sure to close the door. So it's now measuring the X resonance. And then it's calibrating the accelerometer again, and then it's going to measure the Y resonance. And now it's computing the input shaper values, so the best values for the input shaper. First for the x-axis and then for the y-axis. Okay, so now it has computed the values and it asks us to store the values, and we says yes. And we go to turn, and then we head for phase stepping in settings, and then we say calibration. Press continue. Now it's doing some homing again. You can leave the accelerometer connected. And now it's going to calibrate the X motor first. Okay, and now it says, okay, the motor X vibration reduced by 61% and motor Y vibration reduced by 48%. So that's absolutely perfect. And basically we're done now. So we remove the accelerometer and attach the sock again. And now we put back the cap, of course, and basically we're done. So a few things that I want to mention about the manual belt tuning process is there's something that I really recommend. So before you start the manual belt tuning, you should still use the frequency measurement method, but the Prusa app doesn't really work for me. So I tried a lot of smartphones, but none worked. There's a trick. So if you normally put, we make sure we disable the motor again. So normally you put the extruder to the front right, and now you go to the middle. You see those two that have no screw, that's the middle. And then you slightly pull the belt on the upper and on the lower. Okay? So the thing is, what you can do is you can pull and then you just punch, and then it will be detected by the Prusa app. So you pull, punch, and then you see that it says, okay, that's the frequency. But what I prefer instead is an app called Spectroid. You can download it from the Android store, and then you can simply also pull. And you see the line over here, and that's the actual frequency. So it's around 96 dB. And for the lower one, it is slightly lower. So in this case, it's at 92 Hertz. Now another hint. So a lot of people say that the Core 1 is pretty loud, and one of the reasons could be something that I discovered on my printer. I had the kit, so I assembled it on my own and made sure that everything I do is exactly as the manual stated. But there's one thing that wasn't right in my case. So if you, for example, move the gantry forward and backward and you hear a rippling sound from the belt, which is pretty loud, then the issue most probably is that the belt isn't perfectly aligned over here. So there's this pulley on a motor, and you have to make sure that the belt is perfectly centered over here when moving forward and backward. Okay? If it is not, then just move it slightly forward until you see the screw, and then you use the Allen key, and then you just loosen the screw, move the pulley to the right position and retighten it. And if you then move it forward and backward, you can immediately hear that the rippling sound is actually gone. Okay, so that's it. Hope you enjoyed it, and till next time, bye.